Croeso eisiau wine gatref. Welcome to the wine show at home with a bit of an added Welsh flavour to it. I am your wine druid to guide you through. We'll come back to why this has a bit of a Welsh feel to it a little in a moment or two. Oh, we're going to go and have some fun. I like Wales. I once sang at the Eisteddfod many years ago. Ira sina fu faro, wrth gario go i'r Flint. Old folk song, that. If I remember rightly, it was about a dead donkey carrying coal to Flint. Welsh people, write in and tell me if I've just sang about a dead donkey or if I've just insulted Matthew Rees horribly. I really hope Matthew Rees is not watching this time, because I'm sure my Welsh pronunciation is really, really dreadful. Welcome, no more singing. You've joined the wine show at home. Welcome, everybody, especially a big welcome to members of the emergency and health services who are joining us. We've had the first couple of pictures coming in. Send us your pictures. Have a look here. This is my cousin Anna. Anna is a nurse in the NHS. She says down here, she says, I had just finished a dance, but before and after I was being deeply serious. Anna and all nurses, I think we can forgive you a moment of dancing in between what I'm sure is great seriousness before and after. You're doing an amazing job for us. We're all very grateful, and we're doing our bit by staying at home and having a glass of wine and entertaining ourselves. Well, hopefully I'm entertaining people a little bit. So send in your pics. Love to see you all out and about there. Right, later on I'm going to be answering a few questions. Notice we're professionals at this. That is a little bit of mental bribery to make you stay watching to see if your question gets answered. We are getting around all the questions. But I do have one straight up. We've got one here from Tom Rhodes. Hello, Tom. Tom says, is your attic temperature controlled? Will that wine keep in there okay compared to a cellar? Very simple answer, Tom. No, it's not temperature controlled. In fact, this is about the worst place I could possibly go and keep my wine, which is why I'm very grateful to today's partners with us on the Wine Show at Home, Sorrell's Wineracks and Wine Cellars. Sorrell's British designed and manufactured wine racks. Go and visit their website. Now, there's the most amazing thing. This will occupy you literally for hours. Go and visit. There's a wine cellar builder online. Even if you're not going to buy a cellar, you are going to love the wine cellar builder. Online, you can build your own sort of wine cellar. There's wine rooms and wine racks and wine under stair cupboards, all sorts of wine bits. But Sorrell's make brilliant wine racks. Started in Putney. I'm not a million miles away from Putney right now. And it was because I think they had no proper storage for some wine. So they decided to build racks. And now they make these absolutely gorgeous racks out of a hen house in Arundel. So who else is in Arundel? That's where Digby Fine English is, I think. Brilliant English sparkling wine. We should have that on later on. When you ring up, now if you order a cellar, and now is a good time, what you're going to do? Order a wine cellar or a nice wine room. Quote the wine show. When you ring up, say, oh, I heard about you through the wine show, and I'd love to go and put a nice wine cellar into my house. And they will say, well, this is where it came from, which is great fun. Right, let's get on to the wine. This is what you could put in your Sorrell wine cellar. We are with Llyn wines in Pwllheli. You thought I couldn't get that out, didn't you, Dean and Margaret? Here is Dean and Margaret. This is Dean and Margaret of Llyn wines in Pwllheli. And this is an idiot who they met at the Drinks Retailing News Awards, where they were up for, I think, Independent Wine Retailer of the Year. You were robbed, Dean and Margaret. You should have won. You were robbed. And what have you got for us here? Well, they started it with a sort of a Welsh wine. Now, what does it say here? This is Domaine des Jeanne Bulle Sparkling Rosé, $13.99. Beautiful colour, very, very pale. But they said this has got a Welsh lilt to it. It's owned by Lord Mervyn Davies, that's the most Welsh name ever, of Abersoch. If any of the drivers are watching, hello Tom, I know you're probably watching this. Right, Sean, Christian, hello. I used to go sailing over the summer in Abersoch, that's what you do in Abersoch. Fresh, dry, crisp Grenache Noir. So Lord Mervyn Davies of Abersoch, he makes this wine. And he still has a house in Abersoch, he was born there. In the Llyn Peninsula. You want some of this for the summer. It does have a sort of citrus crispness to it. This is really supple, juicy, refreshing, fruity outdoor rosé. It's sort of sparkling Provençal rosé, really. I think it's from a bit further up, isn't it? In Luberon, something like that. If you have a jacuzzi like our cameraman, Cliff, hello Cliff. Cliff loves a jacuzzi and he likes to get in. Cliff, this in your jacuzzi. I know you're drinking that Listel out of the box, but if you want to treat yourself, get yourself a bottle of this. Absolutely fantastic. Domaine des Jeanne Bulle Sparkling Rosé. Cliff is there's Cliff and who else we've got? Jamie and all the gang. All those beautiful pictures that you see on the camera, on the wine show, that's their job. They are like cab drivers with an artistic eye because they do swear a certain amount. Beautiful. I'm really enjoying that wine very much. So Lord Mervyn Davies, well done. We're going to try another. What else have we got here? Some good wines. Fabien Murail, Les Clos des Chaumes, Feif Vendée Blanc, 11.99. I'm quite interested in this. This is a blend between Chenin Blanc, which you get a lot in the Loire Valley, and then Chardonnay. So I'll have a sniff and a swirl. Very fruity. Chenin often has, it's sort of apple character to it. But here it's more peachy. Peach and citrus. There's been a few of these wines. Somebody asked me the sort of wines that we're showing here, and I said a lot of them seem to be comforting, very drinkable, approachable styles of wine, sometimes from unusual places. I mean, I have to say, from the Feif Vendée, I don't drink an awful lot of wine from the Feif Vendée, but this is the kind of thing I really feel like at home, just at the minute. It's not necessarily the time for incredibly adventurous, challenging drinking. Sort of listening to Messiaen organ music for the palate. It's quite nice to have something that doesn't tax you too much, but it's just delicious. It's a great winery in Australia. I think is it Barossa Valley Estate, where it just says on the wall, is it delicious? And the winemakers every day, that's what they have to think about. Is it delicious? This is really good with seafoody dishes. If you are having all sorts, actually. I tell you what, that would be really nice with. Do you ever have that salmon wrapped in a pastry, sort of puff pastry on the outside, like a sort of salmon Wellington? Very nice with that. Now then, various people have asked us, I'm sort of dipping into questions. A number of people have been asking about stemless glasses. They're aware that I have an issue with stemless glasses. And so various people says, well, do you have an issue with stemless glasses? I do. And it's largely because they lead to irresponsible drinking. And in fact, the point of stemless glasses is irresponsible drinking. This was years ago when I worked in Central London. We used to talk a lot about the Prince Regent coming in. The Prince Regent used to have a thing where, don't do this with your posh glasses, but if you can imagine, at dinner parties, the Prince Regent would make people snap off the stems to their glasses so that they had to finish every glass before they could put it down or it would spill everywhere. And it forced people to drink too much. Even the word, and this is a bizarre sort of thing because we've twisted it, even the word tumbler. And a tumbler was an early Anglo-Saxon drinking vessel. And the idea was that you couldn't put it down, you couldn't tumble it over until you'd finished drinking. Now we use it to mean a sort of thing that almost can't be tipped over. It's got a flat bottom. That's a tumbler. In the old days, it was one that you tumbled over. We like to come up with little wine facts every so often, and that's today's. So that is sort of, really the reason I don't like stemless glasses is I like to hold by the stem. So those of you who haven't been following, we hold by the stem, not by the bowl. Easy way to remember it. Sometimes, always, never. Why? Mostly because it looks nicer. Let's do it that way. No, so that you're not warming up the wine in the glass. The other thing is you don't smudge your glass. A lot of the beauty of wine is in the look of it. If you've got all fingerprints on the glass, it doesn't look nearly so nice. So I quite like to sort of hold it like that. If you're a champagne merchant, for some reason you sort of hold your glass this way. They're terribly smart. But hold it by the stem. Stem watch. It's a hashtag. Look it up on Instagram. It's mostly me having a go at people. And the third wine we've got here, before we jump into a few questions, Corcera Barbera di Superiore 2017, $9.99. I'm a big fan of Barbera. Interestingly, the origin of the name Barbera is much disputed, but it's generally reckoned to be connected to the word barbarian. And it's sort of like us going blah, 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 blah. The children on the bus go blah, blah, blah. I can tell I've got a 2-year-old. Because Greeks and Romans, barbari, were people who went blah, 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 and they couldn't understand what they were saying. And a lot of people in Piemonte, there are loads of places, Barbera, Barbaresco, there's lots of Baba names up in Nebbiolo, in Piemonte. And it's thought that it's because nobody could understand what they were saying. So they just went, all those people went blah, 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 blah. And Barbera is named after all the towns up there. Now, it's a really, and it's seductive, is Barbera, and succulent. You know, I was saying before about wines that are comfortable and inviting and generous. And Barbera is one of those wines. It needs a bit of oak to soften it up. Particularly comes from d'Asti and d'Alba, Asti and Alba. So you get Barbera d'Asti, Barbera d'Alba, Asti as in spumante. Sweet cherries, succulent, juicy, rich, fruity wine. Really delicious. In fact, we've got a question here that goes with it. Good evening, Joe. This is from Tim in Cambridgeshire. Hello, Tim. Thank you for bringing a little bit of joy into the isolated evenings. If that's what we're doing, we're delighted. In the current climate, I wondered what wallet-friendly wine you would recommend for a good old steak and chips dinner. This, Corcera Barbera d'Asti. And when you serve it, you can tell people that, Corcera, it's crociera, isn't it? Is this Corcera crociera? Crociera means a cruise. Going on a cruise. Not that sort of cruise. Not allowed to. Social distancing. I'll tell you what's been really lovely. That sort of lifted times. I wrote this on Twitter the other day. We're looking after our neighbour. She's a few up. Now, I'd met her once when we moved into this house, which is about 2 years ago. I just said hello, walking on the street. Oh, hello. I'm that sort of person, slightly irritating when she was standing outside. And we dropped a little card into the thing. And it was just for anybody up the road. You know, anybody need a bit of help? And she rang up. She said, yes, she did actually. She was 88 and she would like a bit of help. Thanks very much. Her family didn't live nearby. So when we got in touch and we'd done a bit of shopping and we get some bread and eggs and whatnot and drop them off. And my wife, Christina, she baked some biscuits and sent those across. It was really nice. The other day, she'd looked me up on the internet, so I did the same. I looked her up on the internet and found this amazing story about her being evacuated to Devon, to the River Dart in the war as an 8-year-old, 80 years ago. And I said, I sent her an email. I said, I found you here. And is this you on this story? It's written by apparently her sister. And she said, oh, yes. She said, I had no idea about that. And so I sent her the link. She said, can I see it? And I've sent her this link. So today, she has been reading the story of her own evacuation in the war down to Devon, written by her sister who died a few years ago, and she had no idea it had ever been done. She vaguely remembered her sister talking about, saying, I'd done something with the BBC, and it was really lovely. So there are lovely little things that are coming out of current sort of grim crisis. So you'll never know what happens. That was just out of popping a little card through somebody's, and we've made a new friend, which is lovely. Gets in touch all the time. We've had an amazing response. Thank you very much. You have brought lots of light to various independent wine merchants. I've just got a few here. Nicola, she says she's been on the Jascot's website looking for their Beaujolais and Sablé. Good choices, Nicola. Joe, who's a friend of mine who works at Jascot's, actually, she's just sent me a text. She said, I've just taken an order. So whoever that was, thank you very much indeed. Matthew at Hennings, he says they've had lots of interest and lots of people have been ringing up for orders. So those Hennings wines from yesterday, really lovely. No, day before yesterday. Simon and Claire in Octorada, they've been on the phone to reserve wines for a case of the Cremant. Good choice, Simon and Claire. And even people who've not been featured. So we've had a note. Thomas Baker has been ordering wines from his wine merchant, Fine Wine Company. Well, I know the Fine Wine Company, so well done. Doesn't matter who your local wine merchant is, go and give them some support. Let's go and have a few other questions. Stephen Batt, he says, I really enjoy the Wine Show TV at-home nightly shows. Last year, I had a fantastic geosensory wine tasting at Domaine Dice and wanted to know if you could recommend a book. I'm not entirely certain I can, to be honest. I'm not totally certain what a geosensory wine tasting is. But I tell you what we had. What was it? It's around here somewhere. Here we go. Do you remember The Dirty Guide to Wine? I reckon that's it, because it'll be about terroir, won't it? So read The Dirty Guide to Wine. by Alice Faring. That, I think, is the best guide. What else do we have? Alba Wine Guy, Ewan Robertson. Can you give a shout out to the Edinburgh 2018 WSET diploma cohort who passed this year? I can. A big shout out. And I suspect some of you from that cohort were there at the Guildhall earlier on this year when I gave my little daft speech to congratulate you all. I told you about that lady who ran away to the Gambia rather than go on a date with me after I finished my diploma. It's a long story to everybody else, but it made sense at the time. But it did involve somebody going away to the Gambia. She's probably very happy right now. We will have tomorrow night a WSET special. So all of you who've been asking questions about where do I learn about wine, how do I get a bit more knowledge, can I have more structure than this nonsense? Tomorrow night, WSET special. What do we get here? Kathy, side hustle, why not? Yeah, I don't get the buzz about it. Doubt I will watch anymore. Just a minute. I was literally just cut and pasting this into this document from Charlotte. What are you doing, Charlotte? She said, I've only watched 3 episodes. We've only done 3 episodes. Meth addict, trailer trash, cult leaders making a living from mistreating animals. No, you're talking about Tiger King. This is the wine show at home. It's not the Tiger King. I've been watching it. I'm not on meth. Thank you very much. Can everybody else who's not watching the Tiger King please show us what you're drinking? Send in photographs because we'd love to see you. Show us your bottles, which normally involves your slippers for some reason. Show us your bottles. Show us what you're drinking, and we'll tell the world. We'll go and pop them on here. I'm sure we've had 1 or 2. Martin Wool, question for tonight's show. If you could only drink one particular bottle for the rest of your life, what would it be? Not necessarily your favourite, because this would have to cover all meals and moods. And can we see what your setup looks like for broadcasting? Well, I'll take a photograph. It does involve a lavatory, because the camera is sitting right next to the lavatory. Now you've got a very different thing, but it was to make it all work. I'll send you that later. Yes, funnily enough, there's a weird connection here. It would be Chianti Classico. But I don't know exactly who's Chianti Classico, but I could drink Chianti Classico pretty much every day for the rest of my life. It's brilliant. It goes with everything. Well, not everything, but it goes with lots of things, and I can sit in front of the... This is one of my favourites. Not just... I've noticed, actually, this is somebody's bottom, I think, on the wrapper on the outside. This is from Nitardi. If you have a look just here on the screen, Nitardi, which you'll remember from Series 1, Matthew visit, and they do crayoning when they're there to do the label. 25% of all orders at Nitardi today, shipping internationally, go to... Ooh, crikey, that's my... excuse me, that was my little timer. Go to Azienda Ospedaliera Universitaria di Careggi di Firenze. And they've already raised several thousand euros there. So go and visit Nitardi, their website, and if you want to go and order a brilliant case of really gorgeous wine that will suit you for a very long time, 25% of the proceeds will go to a hospital in Florence, looking after people. Right, who else do we have? Mark Christopher in Cardiff. Cardiff, hello. I won't do any Welsh accents. I certainly won't sing any more in Welsh. It was great to meet you at the Cheltenham Food and Drink Festival last year. That was a lot of fun. What do you think the future holds for events and tastings this year, and how are you managing your own diary schedule in such certain times? Well, I was meant to speak at Cheltenham and in Harrogate and various other bits around, and of course they've all been cancelled. So we won't be doing them, and I suspect the festival season probably won't happen really this year. Hopefully we'll still do some tastings. I was meant to do a dinner at Berry Brothers and Rudd a bit later on in April, but won't be able to go and do that anymore. But hopefully I'll be able to come back. Hello, people at Berry Brothers and Rudd. Hello, Rebecca, Becky, take me back on. I'll come in. So we will go and do things. We will come back. We'll be able to do stuff, just not straight away. Now then, Shafiq, like traffic, it says here. Jamal from Vancouver. Shafiq, thank you very much for that. Loving the show. Missing it terribly here in Canada. When we'll be able to get season 2? It might be on... Do you get Prime? I'll look into it. My question is as follows. What can I do to train my palate with regards to getting the tasting notes right? You do it with such ease. I don't do it with any ease at all. I bumble around. That will be on tomorrow night. Go and have a look up. And we've got a few others which I'll come through to some more. Donna Ferrario, watching in the States and greatly enjoying it. Thanks so much. I'm very curious about the books on your bookshelf. What books about wine have you read and loved? What would you recommend? I'm hoping that they're all quite suitable books. I never really thought it through very much. But I did realise the other day I had The Sexual Politics of Meat, which is a very good book if you're really into the sociology of meat. But I've taken it off. I've actually got a couple here to show you. You know what? You can go and get textbooks, but two of my absolute favourites are stories, personal stories of wine. This is a joy. Red and White, Oz Clarke's book. Everybody in wine should read this. I mean, Oz, one of the people who got me into wine hugely. He was at the first wine tasting event I ever went to, and I spoke briefly. And the day before the wine show came out, 25 years later, the phone rang. I didn't know the number. And his amazingly fruity voice, lovely rotund voice came on, and he said, "Hello, Joe, it's Oz." And he said at that dinner, he'd told somebody, "I always said that man would end up on television." True story, that. Love you, Oz. Amazing. He is a total legend. Go and buy this book. It's absolutely fascinating. And then give him a drink and get him to tell you the stuff that isn't in the book, which is even more amazing. It made my eyes water, some of that, Oz. The other one, which is somebody who came into wine quite quickly, Bianca Bosco's Court Dork. Bianca's lovely. She's brilliant. She became a somm in a year. In America, it's a brilliant read. It bowls along like nobody's business, and it's a real sort of lifting the lid on the world of sommeliers, and particularly her time at Terroir in Tribeca, New York, my favourite wine bar in New York. Hello, everybody at Tribeca. I'm going to go and get back in touch with you all because I promised an email when we were there a couple of weeks ago. But that's a really great read as well. So those are two good books. Right, final couple of bits and pieces. I just licked my finger like Britain's Health Secretary. You're not allowed to do that. I will wash my hands later. Karen Blower says, it would be really nice when all this lockdown business is over, maybe you could do a wine show at home once a week. I'm really enjoying them. We really, if that's what people would like, we'd love to do it. It'd be great fun. And final one, Zach Grover. Can you show us the proper way to retro-nasally breathe a glass and then do a quality sample? I noticed yesterday Joe did a fancy slurp, as we call it. What does that do? All the best and thank you for everything we do. I try. Right. You know the slurpy thing? Broadly, what you're doing, get a glass. If you've got one in your hand, you can do it now. Take a mouthful, but hold it in your mouth, and then suck air through so that you have a sort of aerosol, and then breathe out through your nose. I'll just do it now. The idea is that it's warming up the wine in your mouth. You create a kind of aerosol, and you're effectively retronasally breathing, which is breathing backwards, like that, excuse me. So rather than breathing orthonasally, which is, you breathe retronasally, which is, so there we go, do it again. And what it does is it heightens your perception and your ability to perceive all the aromas and characters in the wine. I hope that's been helpful. Go away, clean the shirt that you just snotted all over, as I'm sure some of you have. Takes a bit of practice. It's worthwhile doing in the bath. Come back tomorrow, because tomorrow we have our WSET wine learning special, and make sure you've got a glass of wine, because what we're going to do tomorrow is we're going to go and try wines using the WSET's systematic approach to wine tasting. It's going to be fun. See you later. Stay safe.